As a bisexual Muslim man,
I certainly don't feel at home in Australia.
experience the disadvantage that comes from living in a racist system.
Our government, for example,
who has
is
power?
96%, white people, white men predominantly.
On Monday, we launched a campaign at exposetherot.com to fund independent researchers to uncover vital truths about candidates ignored by the mainstream media. Thanks to your support, our researchers have already delivered their first explosive report. Watch this full video to see what they've uncovered, then share it widely, and finally visit exposetherot.com to donate. Your contributions ensure that this crucial campaign continues all the way through to election day. Now, meet Omar Sakar, the Greens candidate for Blaxland, who in 2021 published a poem you're seeing on the screen right now with the very alarming lines that I'll play for you from his own video.
Put your mask on. Get vaccinated. I don't care what's in it. I too want to slit a sleeping country's throat. Fuck virtue signals. Let's be villains.
While some might defend his provocative poem as artistic expression, no such excuse holds for Omar's celebration of the horrific terror attacks on October 7 of 2023. On October 8, as savages were still rampaging through Israeli villages, butchering, raping, burning and kidnapping anyone they could get their hands on, this Greens candidate published a Substack article where he opens by saying, "The other night, Hamas launched an assault out of occupied Gaza, bulldozing through the border wall, sending thousands of rockets toward Israel, and retaking at least one illegal settlement." Remember, it was October 8, as terrorists were still in Israel live streaming their crimes against innocent civilians. Instead of mourning the victims, Omar Sakar sought to paint them as the oppressors and the perpetrators as mere resistors. Let's be clear. Gaza has not been occupied by Israel since their withdrawal in 2005. The terrorists didn't bulldoze a border wall. It's a security fence. Most egregiously, though, there's no truth to the claim that they retook illegal settlements. There's no disputed territories that exist around Gaza. These terrorists invaded Israel proper, targeting villages and kibbutzim with the sole intent of murdering and kidnapping as many people as possible. Omar then goes on to celebrate it as their most ambitious and successful resistance action in decades, claiming it has already led to the indiscriminate shelling from the Israeli Air Force. Another blatant falsehood, a blood libel aimed at portraying Israel as the aggressor, ignoring the reality of October 8 when the IDF was still battling terrorists inside of Israeli towns. Israel's bombing of Gaza didn't begin until October 13, 5 days after Omar Sakar published this article where he celebrated the attacks. Explaining his glee, Omar wrote, "I say successful because there are many more attempts that failed to penetrate the Iron Dome defense systems or cause any harm." Omar Sakar reveled in the live-streamed atrocities, celebrating the harm inflicted on innocent civilians. This is the individual the Greens seek to place in our parliament. In that same article, Omar preemptively criticizes governments he expected would condemn the Hamas attacks. He argued that the horrific violence against civilians we were all witnessing was entirely justified, urging his followers to dismiss such condemnations because, in his words, the same powers, the same leaders currently saying there's no justification for violent resistance, have also condemned non-violent resistance and even made it illegal. A single day after the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust, carried out by a group echoing the Nazis' genocidal intent, Omar Sakar argued that denouncing the attack was not progressive but an insidious invalidation of resistance. And if you thought Omar Sakar softened his stance or spoke with more sensitivity after all the horrific facts of October 7 emerged, you'd be mistaken. Throughout 2024, he relentlessly targeted Israel, with our researchers uncovering article after article, fully quoted and linked in the Rebel News story at exposetherot.com, accusing Israel of war crimes, genocide, apartheid, and everything in between. An obsession that is apparent in his Greens candidate photo, where he dons the same keffiyeh worn by the terrorists he appears to admire, who went house to house slaughtering Jews that day. Omar Sakar's troubling views extend beyond Jewish presence in the Middle East. In December 2024, he wrote a Substack article downplaying a synagogue firebombing in Melbourne, bizarrely dismissing it as an example of, and I quote, normalization of Islamophobia, as there was, quote, no evidence as to the motive for the attack. Real attack on Jews must mean Islamophobia. Make it make sense. And if you think Omar Sakar's animosity is limited to Israel or Australian Jews, think again. He harbours the same contempt for Australia itself. His social media is rife with posts labelling Australia as racist and built on genocide, which, let's be honest, is right on brand for the Greens platform. But disturbingly, he's employing the same rationales to justify and glorify the October 7 attack on Israel, which leaves two possibilities. Either Omar Sakar is an anti-Semite, using these excuses to celebrate the murder of Jews, or he represents a national security threat. In either case, he must never hold power. If you think it's important for Australia to know who the Greens are really putting up as candidates, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide, because the mainstream media is not going to touch it. And if you support our mission and want to help us pay for the researchers to dig deep into as many candidates as possible, please go to exposetherot.com now and give what you can, because none of this is possible without your support. exposetherot.com. Go now.